and that was computer system organization. Our chapter was computer system overview, and within that we had started with computer system organization, basic computer
Good morning, ma'am.
organization. Good morning. So uh, there we studied about what is a computer, what is the IPO cycle, that is input process and output cycle. We discussed in detail about the block diagram of a computer consisting of input unit, output unit, control unit, and ALU, that is arithmetic and logic unit, and memory unit. We discussed about memory in detail, that is how many parts memory is divided. There are two parts. Can anyone tell me in what are the two components of memory unit? Two components. Yes. Now, how many students? Okay, let me ask Agni Jharya. Yes.
Ma'am, memory is divided into classified into two parts, primary and secondary. Primary memory consists of the data that is used while processing information, whereas secondary consists of devices, external devices which store data, which is not deleted unless the user deletes himself.
See, primary memory, what you said is correct. That is primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is divided into two, RAM and ROM. Okay. So RAM is random access memory, ROM is read-only memory. Now, as we had discussed yesterday, that ROM is specifically write once and read many type of memory. Instructions within ROM are embedded during its manufacturing time. Okay. By the manufacturer itself, instructions are coded, they are embedded into it. And rest of the time, we can only use those instructions to perform certain tasks. Right. And RAM is what? Random access memory, which is used, which is basically known as a volatile memory. Anything which is stored in RAM is not doesn't stay there forever. Whenever there is a switch off of electricity, when the electric current stops flowing, data will be erased. All data within RAM will be erased. And second, talking about secondary storage devices, all those devices which we see, whether it is your hard disk drive, which is a magnetic drive, okay, along with that, we have optical disk drives, CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray discs and all. We have removable drives, that is USB flash drives, memory sticks, right? So all these devices are secondary storage devices where data is stored permanently for a longer period of time, right? So we had discussed all these things. We will take our discussion further today. We have to start from here about input unit. What are input units? Yes.
Ma'am, can you share this PPT on WhatsApp?
Sure, I will share it. I will share it on Google Drive, and I'll share the link with you all. Okay, so you can download it from there because it's a large PPT consisting of lot of graphics. Its size is very high, so I cannot share it in the WhatsApp group. I will be uploading it on Google Drive and sharing the link with you all. Okay.
Yes,
please make your notes regularly using this PPT, and also this is very helpful for you all with respect to your revision also. Clear? Keep your revision up to date from day one onwards. Don't wait for the last moment. Right now we have started with computer system overview, so you take things slowly. Okay, and you can take things a bit slowly, but keep your pace. Keep with the pace of the class. आज जो कुछ भी पढ़ा है, please complete that, complete its revision, complete making its notes. I have some lecture notes which I will be sharing with you all, okay, at the end of the class. And you also make it a habit to take down notes in your self-study register. I will also be giving you some questions today. Please solve them in your self-study copy. Is it clear? Okay. So
yes, ma'am.
They take input, convert it into binary form, and binary form means in the form of ones and zeros, which is understood by the computer, right? Consists of data and instructions we have already discussed, and so many different devices. You can see the encircled ones. Here you can see this is a webcam, a keyboard, a mouse, microphone, scanner, digital camera, mouse, all these things, graphic tablets, these all are examples of input devices. Input comprises of data and instructions. Now we will be discussing basically on what is data and information, right? First, talking about data. Data basically represents raw facts, figures, raw facts and figures which are collected on a daily basis. Collected on a daily basis. Okay, that is every day data entry is done to ensure that we have a database. There is a hospital and the hospital has a person who is employed as a data entry operator or the receptionist, and any new patient comes and seeks admission into the hospital, that patient's details are entered into the database. Similarly, all this database might also be containing a separate table to contain the details about all the employees staying there. Okay. Basically, database is a collection of related tables which we will be studying in class 12. Okay, that is next year we will be studying about this, about databases. So right now you should understand that data is collected on a daily basis. It's just dumped somewhere, and later on when this data is extracted, summarized and processed, at that time we get information, which we also say meaningful data. Right? Which is also meaningful data. So data is extracted, summarized, processed, and what we get from that is your information. Data, processing, and information. Raw data goes in, it is processed, we get information. Right? So information is usually in the form of what? If suppose the manager, one second, let me see who just if suppose somebody manages, I just got distracted, sorry. Okay, the manager asks you, give me the record of all the employees who have been taking up the new office automation course or who have enrolled for the new office automation course. Or he may ask, give me the list of all those employees who have availed more than 10 leaves in this month. So this way, what the employer poses a question, and we generally use any type of a device. We use any type of an application, which is basically a database application, right? For example, we can use Oracle. We can use Fox Pro, which is kind of obsolete these days. We can use MySQL, right? And various others. We can use MS Access. Applications like these to pose a question to the database, and database will fetch the records of all those employees and it will display, right? So at the end, if we make use of queries, last year you had studied MS Access, if you remember, we created queries, forms, reports, right? So these are what these reports, these query results, they are actually your information. That is meaningful data, processed data. Data is stored, and when you do some work on that, it gives me information, right? So input is add 2 and 3. Input is what? You are giving an instruction here in this particular slide, what you are seeing over here is a complete instruction in the form of a statement of a program. I say add 2 and 3. Here 2 is what? 2 and 3. These are what? Input. I'm using a small abbreviation. This is for input, right? This will be output. So I'll be using these abbreviations multiple times. These are inputs. And this add is what? This is your instruction. Right? When you write a Python program, let us see a small Python program to add two values. I write a comma b equals 2 comma 3. That is a is 2 and b is 3. And I write here c equals a plus b, print c. A small program. So here not only you supplied input, but you also gave program instructions, or in short known as program code. How to solve a particular problem. What is the problem? I have to assign two values and I have to print their sum. Okay, so here these are all what? These are codes. This is the program code, right? So you give some input, you give the program code, that is the instructions, and that will be processed and you will get some result. Same way, print hello world. Hello world is the data, print is the instruction. We are only trying to print hello world on the screen. That's all we have to do. So print hello world. Is the difference between data and instruction clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Nothing much is there. This is very simple. Coming to the next, some common input devices: mouse, keyboard, scanner, webcam, microphone. These all are some commonly used input devices, out of which the most necessary one is the keyboard and mouse. Okay, even without mouse you can work, but without keyboard, which is the basic input device, you cannot work. Rest all are optional devices. These all are optional devices. That is, even without a webcam or a microphone or a scanner, your computer will still work. Next is output unit. All output devices which are attached to the computer, output coming out of the CPU in the form of electronic binary signals, need to be converted in some form which can be easily understood by us. Computer understands the binary language because for computer it is easy to understand on and off, the language of on and off. On means electricity flows, off means electricity does not flow. So it was easy to figure out this kind of a language for a computer, where only by using two values, the computer can understand almost anything. It can understand alphabets, it can understand digits, it can understand any special character, right? But for us, that language is not very easy to understand. We need our own human language, English, Hindi, Russian, German, to understand anything. Understood? So that is why there is an internal conversion which takes place. When we give input to the computer, it is saved, it is converted into binary form, that is machine language, and stored. And when we want the output, that output is converted into our language, which is known as the high level language, such that we are able to understand it. Some common output devices, as you can see, monitor, which is very important. Okay, and this is a mandatory device because without a monitor it is difficult. At least some display screen should be there. Kuch to display hona chahiye. So monitor is compulsory, others are optional. Printer, your computer will even work without a printer. Plotter, you don't need, until and unless you are a businessman who is involved, who has a big print shop and print business, and you print advertisements and posters and hoardings. At that time you will need it. Okay, this is the image of a plotter. Just see it over here. You can see it is used to print huge designs, it is used to print maps, it is used to print large advertisements and posters on vinyl sheets. Okay, those vinyl sheets are actually used for printing all the flexes. If you have very carefully studied the type of uh, material which is used for our flex boards, which are hung up in the school, you might have seen lot of flex boards are there in the school. So if you closely observe, it is a very thick and sturdy sheet which is used. It is vinyl sheet. Okay, so that vinyl sheet, it's an organic compound and it's used to create these sturdy material which is used for printing posters, hoardings, kiosks, which you might be seeing on the roadside also. There are on top of buildings, large hoardings or advertisements are hung up. Okay, so they are basically printed. The paper will not last through the weather because there is rain, there is cloud. Sometimes the weather is cloudy, sometimes it would rain, sometimes it would be too cold or too hot. Because of the weather, what will happen? Whatever material is there, it tends to get withered away, right? Paper will not last even a single day. So vinyl sheets are used for printing those because they have to withstand the weather. वो बाहर लगे होते हैं तो उनपे बारिश का खतरा होता है, सूरज की रोशनी उस पे पड़ती है, too much humidity can also destroy that. So these hoardings and kiosks, they stay for around 6 months or so without getting damaged. Speakers are there. You can see a speaker image over here, and portable speakers are very popular these days, right? Then we come to CPU, which we already now a finely refined diagram you can see here. Input, output, control unit, ALU, arithmetic and logic unit, main memory. These three are sandwiched into one single box, that is your system unit. The CPU cabinet which you see at home, if you, those who have a desktop computer at home, all of you have seen a desktop computer, right? So the CPU cabinet is usually like this. It's a box. My drawing might not be very good. Okay, I'm still learning how to use the graphic tablet and it's not very smooth on the graphic tablet also. So you might have seen this kind of a box which consists of a button, a power button, which is somewhat like this. So this thing is known as your cabinet, also known as system unit. System unit contains motherboard, which is also known as main board. This main board houses all the different components which are essential for the working of your computer. It houses your processor, that is your CPU. It houses your, the CPU contains in itself the ALU, arithmetic and logic unit, and the CU, that is control unit. And you have separate area for hard disk, and you have slots for RAM on the motherboard. So these two constitute the memory unit. There are slots for fitting the RAM on your RAM chips on your motherboard. So you fix your RAM on that, and you have a separate cabinet made for storing your hard disk, which is usually an internal hard disk, right? And these two constitute your memory unit, right? So this whole thing is your system unit. So within the CPU, you contain all these things. Within the CPU, you contain all these things and auxiliary storage. See, now let me tell you certain things. Basically, main memory is a part of your CPU. Although your hard disk is also stored within the system box itself, but it comes under secondary storage or auxiliary storage, right? Your secondary storage, all those devices which permanently store data, they come under auxiliary storage or secondary storage, right? And control unit is controlling the input unit, output unit. You can see it is controlled, it is connected by these dotted lines to auxiliary storage also, to main memory also. Arithmetic and logic unit is crunched up with control unit only, so it controls it directly and it controls all the other parts. And one more thing is there, that is registers. Now what is a register? Okay, it is very important to understand what is a register, so we are coming to that. So ALU performs all these operations. We had discussed it yesterday. Control unit controls and guides the interpretation, that is understanding the command given by the understanding the command and instructions provided by the user. Okay. Execution, that is in which direction the flow of control will execute, in which sequence the instructions are going to be executed. Manipulation of all data and information, sends control signals, performs program execution. Control signals means data has to be written to the RAM or it has to be read from the RAM. डेटा को हमें रैम में स्टोर करना है या डेटा को हमें रैम से एक्सट्रैक्ट करना है. So for that it sends control signals like read or write, which we will be seeing very soon in primary memory. Performs program execution. Controls flow of data from input devices to memory and vice versa. So from where data should flow. Now if user is entering some data, that data should be stored somewhere. Okay, it can be stored either in your auxiliary storage or in your RAM, right? So it controls the flow, the direction of the data storage, whether it is coming from input device, then it should be stored in the RAM, or it has to be displayed or sent to the ALU for further processing. So data has to be extracted from the RAM and it should be sent to the ALU, or it should be sent to the auxiliary storage, or it should be sent to the output device. So controls the flow of data. So in short, if you want to write the functions. Now in this PPT, students, I have tried to crunch up as much as I can. All that theory from your textbook, I have just taken the main points. Okay, in your exam also, if you write these bullet points, these are known as bullet points, everything is very precise and concise. Okay, not too much is written, but still the entire concept becomes clear. So make it a habit to make such guide points while studying. Please pick up, read the paragraph, read the text and pick up guide points from there for theory chapters. Okay. Next is very important, registers. You might have never heard about what are registers. Registers are very fast memory devices which are there to aid the processor. They are extremely fast memory components, storage components, which are used to store data while some instruction is being executed by the processor. है ना? Processing means what? Execution. Or we say running a program. How is the program executed? One by one, that is instruction, one instruction at a time. So when an instruction is being processed or it is being executed on the processor, then the processor makes use of these registers to store data for immediate storage and retrieval of data. क्योंकि उसको जल्दी से काम करना होता है. Its registers are just like assistants to the processor. They are very high speed memory pieces of memory, even faster than cache memory and RAM, right? And hence they are very limited in number. Small units of data holding places temporarily hold some important processing information during execution of programs. Actually, these registers I'm going a little deeper, not much. Registers are made up of even smaller components, small components which are capable of holding one electric charge, that is flip-flops. They are made up of flip-flops, which can, each flip-flop can store exactly one bit of information, either 0 or 1. And how they store it? By means of holding some electric charge. Right. So many flip-flops, they combine to form a register. Right. So these registers, they temporarily hold some important processing information during execution of programs. That's like I said, while the processor is in the process of executing your program, it needs to quickly store data somewhere, for which RAM is too slow. That is why registers are used. CPU may store in these registers any of the following. Now, what is stored in the register? Some part of data, some memory address, or some instruction. There are various registers, like some registers are data registers. Usually represented by DX. Some are address registers, AX. Okay. Some are used to store program instructions. Okay, I'm not able to remember what it represents, so that I will be telling you later. It's not required also, because we know we need not get into. Now see, if one thing I'll tell you, students, whatever you are learning in computer science in your textbook, it is actually a combination. If I separate the chapters, each chapter will form a separate book, which you will be studying if you take up engineering in CS or IT. When you go into engineering, if you take up that course, each of these chapters will be segregated into separate subjects, right? So all those subjects you are learning in one single book, which means we have a limited amount which we need to study right now. This 11th and 12th course which you study in according to CBSE curriculum, into what you will study, introduction into the bigger picture which you get in engineering, right? So you don't need to dig too deep into each of these. Basically, what you need to stick to your curriculum, and yes, you need to dig deeper into Python. When we start with Python programming, you have to learn, you have to make it a habit to learn certain things on your own over there, because that you will be needing for designing your project work. But for these theory chapters, students, I suggest you, it's of course your choice, but I suggest you not to go too deep into each of them. ना हर चीज को आप खोदने बैठोगे तो वो एक पूरी बुक बन जाएगी उससे. So instead of doing that, you should pay more attention to your programming. Okay, you should, like I said, right on the first day, you have to give more time to unit 2. More weightage you have to give to unit 2, which is Python programming. Unit 1 and unit 3, you just study it for class 11 purposes, and that's it. Because we are not going to carry all this chapter, we are not going to carry to class 12. It's just an introduction given. जो चीजें आप class 12th में लेके जाओगे, उस पे ज्यादा ध्यान देना है. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Now we come to the main memory or the primary memory. We are going to deal with the memory in detail now, right? Now, take a very good look at this image which you are seeing over here. What do you see? There is a CPU. CPU is there, that is the processor. And as we had seen, that control unit, ALU, and memory unit, these three form the CPU. So CPU is very closely associated. It is connected with your memory. What is your computer's memory? It is a collection of memory cells which stores data. It is a collection of memory cells where each cell stores some bits of data, right? And each cell is identified by an address. Like in a locality, every house is identified by an address. Hence, each memory cell is identified by an address. As you can see over here, location 0, location 1, location 2, location 3, and so on. It will be go on till the last location, and each of the location contains some bits, which represents, which is your data, which is stored. It could be an alphabet, it could be a digit, it could be any special symbol like plus, minus, bracket, punctuators. Okay, it could be an operator, anything it could be, right? Even all your images, sounds, videos, if you come down at the physical level, each of them is nothing more than a stream of bits. Everything comes down, it's broken down or decomposed into a stream of bits. Yes, for videos, audio and all, you need a large quantity of bits. You need bits in bulk. Okay, that is known as bulk data. Because nowadays our dependence on graphics, sounds, video, that is multimedia, it has shooted up, it has skyrocketed. Hence, we know even 4 GB of data appears very small to us. We need a large amount of RAM, we need a huge amount of data storage for our hard disk. But in olden days, even 1 GB was a lot, because at that time, computers were merely devices which worked with text, hardly any graphics. We are a generation who have even seen computers which were monochrome computers, that is black and white computers, and those computers used to work on a floppy disk. Nowadays, nobody, if you ask anybody, people hardly know what is a floppy disk, because it is an obsolete device. अब वो सिर्फ म्यूजियम में रखने के काम में आता है. Okay, it is an obsolete device. And we used to insert a floppy disk into the computer. The floppy disk contained the operating system. You insert it, then your system starts, and you have to type and do the work. Your operating system, until and unless you study the commands of the operating system, you couldn't work on the operating. Nowadays, do you need to remember any commands? No. You are born, you become 5 years old, and you learn how to use an Android phone or an iPhone. You don't need to remember any commands for that. So this is how technology has evolved and improved over these years. Memory is connected to CPU by means of these lines. These lines are used to carry data to and from memory. Like trains carry passengers from one station to another, and then it brings it back. So data from CPU is stored into the memory, from memory extracted and brought to the CPU. Then we have program counter. Now program counter is another type of a register. It is a special type of a register which is used for what purpose? A program counter. It is used for storing address of next instruction in a program. You wrote a program. That program contains number of instructions. Each instruction would be stored at a particular address. Now, for example, brought into the RAM, and in the RAM, it is each program instruction is stored at a separate address. So for that purpose, for identifying, so this program counter will store the address of the next instruction in the memory, and this will help in the control unit to fetch that instruction and to execute it. And because an instruction also needs data, so it will also provide the address for reading or writing data, whether data has to be written to the memory or extracted to the memory. Like a memory is like a predefined workspace, temporarily stores information and data. Each memory location has a unique memory address. It is volatile. Memory is divided into cells. Each cell is further broken into bits. A bit is a binary digit which is only either 0 or 1. Number of bits, it can form data or instructions. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
Okay.
This much was clear to everybody?
Ma'am,
So,
doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
yes, Mohit. Okay. So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
class, 1 second, Mohit. The class ends here. Those who want to ask any doubt, you can stay back and others can leave the meeting. Okay, just a second. I'll just take your attendance. Yes, I have taken it. Thank you. So those who want to ask any doubt, you can stay back. Hello. Yes, Aditi. Okay. Yes, Mohit. You can ask now.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please explain program counter again?
Okay, sure. Program counter is a data register. It's a register. Register, as I explained, it's a memory unit, a very fast memory unit, which is there near the CPU, which is used for the work for assisting the CPU in executing an instruction in a program. So program counter is, you only need to understand that it is used for storing the address of the next instruction in a program. A program is stored in the memory, कहीं तो store होगा, and it might be stored at certain address, right? So this program counter will first fetch one, which is the address of the first instruction, fetch that instruction, decode that instruction, execute that instruction. Once the first instruction has been fetched, it quickly increments it and makes it 2. इसको बढ़ा देता है 1. एक count, ये program counter में it keeps on counting the number of instructions. So the moment the first instruction is executed, it increments it, and now it is pointing to 2. Okay, then second instruction, then it will point to the third instruction. This way the program counter keeps track of which instruction is being executed or which instruction has to be executed next. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, one more doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, if a particular, if there are only 3 instructions, then ma'am, is it possible that ma'am, the work of a program counter is ma'am over for a short interval of time?
Please repeat your question once again.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, for example, ma'am, only there are 3 instructions. So, ma'am, is it possible ma'am, that after processing all these 3 instructions, ma'am, the work of a program counter is over, ma'am? Ma'am, like that it
Yes,
is.
obviously, the work is over only for that program, but your computer is not a device which executes only one program. It is executing multiple programs simultaneously. So once it finishes working on one program, there would be a program